to Talk With. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio today, filling in for Jane Schlegel. Joining me today is State Senator Ed Reilly. He's a Republican. He represents Maryland Legislative District 33. First appointed to the Senate in June 22nd, 2009, elected to the Senate in 2010. And Mackenzie Boughey, March for Your Life. Did I say that right, Mackenzie?
Yes,
okay,
you did.
Good. March for Our Lives, Annapolis. 16 years old, a junior at the Severn School, a resident of Arnold. And tell me what March for Our Lives Annapolis is all about and when it formed, and then we'll get back over to Senator Reilly.
Yeah, totally. So March for Our Lives Annapolis was formed in February, shortly after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, when all those students formed the National March for Our Lives. And we were actually out of town then. My family was out of town, and I was in a car ride when I saw all of these students standing up for what they believed in. And I knew I wanted to spread that message to Annapolis. So I started talking to my parents. I talked to some activism groups, and within an hour, we had March for Our Lives Annapolis started.
So it wasn't just you, it's other students formed it. You are the spokesperson for the group.
Yes.
Okay, back to Senator Reilly. There is upcoming roundtable that March for Our Lives Annapolis is hosting. It's a bipartisan roundtable. You are taking part in that.
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
And some background on you. Born in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. I don't have to go through this. You can tell the listeners this. Give us some background.
The real important factors are I was one of 9 kids. My dad was a World War II vet, and we never had weapons in our house. Mm-hmm. We had 9 children. He didn't want anything like that around. And when I got married and I had my 4 kids, we didn't have any weapons around either. And so I'm not a gun enthusiast, but I am an advocate for the Second Amendment. But I agree with that common sense approach that there are reasonable things we can do to protect ourselves, the ones we love, and to protect our community. There's a group out in the world that says any restriction on gun ownership or gun use is bad, and I don't buy that. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a right to have our weapons. Yes, we have a right to enjoy them, and I'm a target shooter now. But there needs to be reasonable gun control, not extensive and not onerous, but we have to apply common sense to this issue. And so I'm very pleased to participate with Mackenzie and anybody who wants to have a discussion about this issue.
Well, it does sound like there's some common ground there, Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Is that a surprise to you?
No, that's great to hear, because these days it's either a Democrat or Republican issue, and you're either pro-Second Amendment or no guns at all, it seems. But I'm really happy that we can find common ground, that it's totally fine to own firearms as long as you're responsible. So I'm really happy we can have this discussion.
All right, when is the roundtable discussion?
The roundtable is this Wednesday, the 15th, from 6 to 8:30. We are working with Maryland State Education Association, and it will be held in their building in downtown Annapolis. Of course, Maryland Senator State Ed Reilly is coming. Susan Turnbull, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, is coming of Ben Jealous's campaign. Mayor Gavin Buckley from Annapolis is coming. Ed Clark, Executive Director of Maryland Center for School Safety, is coming. County Executive Candidate Stuart Pittman, Anne Arundel County Public Schools Board of Education President Julie Hummer, and Maryland State Education Association President Cheryl Bost is coming. Also, we found out this morning that Scott Travers is coming, and he is Senator Van Hollen's Regional Director.
He also used to be Annapolis Mayor Gavin Buckley's campaign director way back when, not that far long ago. Okay, so for those that don't know, that's at 140 Main Street. It's not open to the public, but there's still some tickets remaining.
There are about 10 tickets, and you can get them on our Facebook page. They're free, and our Facebook page is March for Our Lives Annapolis MD.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, more about this roundtable discussion and this middle ground that we might be able to break through here in Annapolis and open doors for the rest of the country. This is Donna Cole on Talk With. We will be right back.
Like the old song says, summer means fun, but beware, it's no fun when your brakes give out. And no fun when your tires give out. And when there's steam coming out from under the hood, that's really no fun. Patriot Auto Services wants you to enjoy the summer. Remember, engine or transmission
interrupt this commercial for a breaking commercial. Patriot's summer air conditioning special has been extended through August 31st. That's right, $79.95 plus the cost of Freon through August 31st. If the weather's hot, you and your vehicle need to be cool. Come visit Patriot Auto Services. Now, back to the commercial. I mean the first commercial.
And Patriot Auto Services is a certified Maryland State Vehicle Inspection Station. Call 410-956-7688. Make the appointment and have your inspection and service done in the same visit. Patriot Auto Services, 115 West Central Avenue, Route 214 in Edgewater. Online at patriotautoservices.com.
After every Sunday home game, your kids' big league dreams can come true as all fans ages 4 to 14 can run the Oriole Park bases. Make every Sunday family day at Oriole Park as you enjoy a great afternoon of baseball, capped off with the memory of your children running the same base paths as their favorite birds. Don't miss Kids Run the Bases, presented by Wise Markets, every Sunday home game this season. For tickets, visit Orioles.com.
Listen Tuesday mornings at 8:50 during WNAV's Good Morning Annapolis for Your Estate Matters. You'll hear weekly tips from the estate planning and elder law attorneys from Sinclair Prosser Law. They'll keep you up to date on the latest information on how to handle the very important matters of your estate or that of a loved one. That's Tuesday mornings at 8:50 for Your Estate Matters from Sinclair Prosser Law on WNAV and anytime on demand at 1430WNAV.com.
Welcome back to Talk With. I'm Donna Cole. I'm standing in for Jane Schlegel. In the studio with me today is Mackenzie Boughey of March for Our Lives, Annapolis. She's a 16-year-old junior at the Severn School in Severna Park. She lives in Arnold. And State Senator Ed Reilly. He's a Republican representing Maryland Legislative District 33, first appointed to the Senate in June 2009, elected to the Senate in 2010. He, again, represents Maryland Legislative District 33. And I don't normally always introduce politicians as Republicans or Democrats. I know it says it R&D right there in the newspaper, and sometimes I'll say it, but this time it's kind of important because we're talking about a bipartisan roundtable about school safety and common sense gun laws. Is it odd to be introduced as Republican or Democrat?
No. People in the world oftentimes will categorize people by the church they attend, their ethnicity, or their political party. It's a shame they do that, but it gives people a certain comfort that they kind of know what they're expecting. And in my case, I'm a little bit different than most. I'm willing to wade in on difficult issues. I'm willing to vote against the grain. I'm just kind of a solid Republican, but there's always a few issues that you really need to take a second hard look at.
Okay, District 33. What is District 33?
Central Anne Arundel County. I go from the Bay Bridge to the Patuxent River in the west. I go from Spalding High School in the north to Southern High School in the south. 130,000 souls, and it's a tremendous district.
There's a lot of schools in there.
Oh, yes.
So you saw that I have an article sitting on this table here that was published by the Washington Post on April 20th of this year, last updated July 30th of this year, and it says more than 215,000 students have experienced gun violence at school since Columbine. And I have to preface this. It says, after finding more than 200 incidents of gun violence that met the Post criteria, reporters organized them in a database for analysis. And this was how many children were exposed to gunfire in each school shooting. The Post relied on enrollment figures, demographic information, including Common Core of data of private school universe survey. The analysts used attendance figures from the year of the shooting from the vast majority of schools. Then the Post deducted 7% from each from the enrollment total based on how many students missed school each day, and subtracted 50% from the school's enrollment if the act of gun violence occurred just before or after the school day. It also took into account suicides. As you just said, you have a lot of schools in your district.
I do.
You have 4 children, grown children, and 9 grandchildren.
I do.
You know this is an issue that affects kids everywhere.
It does. The other interesting thing is, We don't even have to have a child hear a gunshot or see the occurrence to be significantly impacted. If you're rushed out of a school with your hands on your head, if you know someone who has been injured or killed, it has a real serious impact. So the number, it distresses me, but it doesn't really surprise me, because we gather large groups of people in a building, and even though a few may actually experience it, all are affected.
Mac?
Yeah, definitely the same thing. Like, if you're in a school and something happens, you're going to be treated the same way, because no one really knows what's going on. You might be treated as a suspect. You will have your arms up in the air, and you will be asked the same questions as everyone else. It's still traumatic. Like, yeah, I totally agree with you on this one.
Does it scare you? At Severn. Are you scared at Severn?
At Severn, I'm lucky to know that they care for their students and are doing everything to try and keep our safety there. We did have an active disturbance drill shortly after the Parkland shooting, and that was actually kind of terrifying for me. It was during one of my free periods, so I kind of had to sprint to the closest classroom, and by the time I got there, all the other students had the good places to hide, so I was under a desk, really, and if someone peeked through that door and was trying to inflict harm, I would be the first person that they'd see.
Okay, now I talked to you before the interview started. I said, is it just about guns? Is it just about the school shootings? You said.
Honestly, it's a little mixture of everything to prevent gun violence in schools. Like, you need more mental health resources to prevent anything from happening. Of course, you need a gun to commit a shooting, but it's far more beyond that.
Ed, your take on that?
Oh, I fully agree. Whether it's 2 adult males or two student males or 2 student females, violence and continues to encourage other violence. So I beat you up with my fists today. You come back tomorrow with a weapon, a club or a bat, and the next day I show up with a knife, and the next day you show up with a gun. I mean, it's a cycle of violence that we do have to address in our entire society. But schools are most vulnerable because we have so many people in a confined space.
What will you be doing? And this was a question Rick Hutzel said to the journalist, and I was one sitting at a memorial service for 5 that were killed at the Capitol Gazette. What he asked us, the journalists, to ask the politicians, what will they be doing to make sure that the shooting that happened at the Capitol Gazette is the last? What will you be doing?
Oh, Donna, it is so, my heart aches because of the question, because no one really knows the answers. So I've broken it into 4 pieces. Number 1 is my family. I got my family together and asked the question, what can we do as a family to protect ourselves, to make ourselves better prepared for an incident? Then I gathered friends and asked them, as adults and young adults, what should we do? And then I asked my fellow legislators. And finally, I look at myself. What can Ed Reilly do? And I got to share with you, if I may, my experience after the Capitol newspaper shooting. I believe it was on a Thursday. Friday morning, I got a phone call from Greg St. Cyr from Bay Area Church. And he asked me to come to a prayer meeting that night. And several hundred people gathered at his church to pray for the victims, to pray for the families, to pray for our community. And he asked me to say a few words. And what I prayed for was wisdom from our elected officials to find answers. And in the past few weeks, many weeks, it's been very difficult. I do have a little bit of an add-on, if I can.
Yeah.
One of the best things that happened to Ed Reilly was in February, there was an article published, and there was a quote by Dr. Perlman, president of the University of Maryland hospital system. He encouraged his peers across the United States to refer to the Gifford Law Center for Gun Violence. And this is a center named after Congresswoman Gifford, who was shot in Arizona.
Right.
And this website lists a ranking of all the states, all their state laws, and things that they have done or could do. California has the most strict laws. They get an A. Maryland, in the second group, gets an A-, and Gifford Law Center said if they could pass the red flag bill and if they could pass the bump stock ban, this would make it more safe. Well, those are 2 bills that came up and that I voted for. But when you look at the other states, and that's one of the frustrations, I believe in states' rights. But background checks need to be done in every state. And if states don't step up, we have to have a serious discussion of where it goes from here.
And you think this is the start with Mackenzie and you sitting at a table on a round table together? I mean, is the youth going to change, or are the youth going to change the world?
They're the yeast and the dough. They're challenging us, and they're not going away.
Mackenzie?
They're the future leaders of America.
You've been shaking your head over there, yes.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything he's saying. Like, the youth will still be here. We're registering to vote now, and we'll still be talking about this because we're the mass shooting generation, starting with Columbine to Sandy Hook to all these other mass shootings I've just grown up with. Like, even Sandy Hook, I was in elementary school and it happened, and Parkland now is just like something needs to change. And I agree with you on that, on the red flag laws. And there's this one law that can be applicable to Great Mills. If you are 18 and under and using your parents' 16, If you're 16 or under and you use your parents' guns to do damage, your parents cannot be prosecuted, really. They just have to pay a fine of $1,000 or less, and that just needs to change.
That's, again, where we get back to families talking to each other, developing plans, values, and criteria. And I don't know if we can dictate that with a law, but it's worth a discussion.
Let's take a quick break on that. We'll be right back on Talk With.
Your exclusive WeatherBug 1430 forecast for greater Chesapeake Bay. This afternoon, northwest winds about 5 knots, but visibility could be a mile or less. This evening, winds out of the west up to 10 knots with scattered showers and waves about a foot, but still a mile visibility. For Tuesday, winds out of the west at 10 knots, waves about a foot. Winds will stay out of the west Tuesday night, 10 knots, waves about a foot. For Wednesday, winds out of the west to southwest around 10 knots, waves a foot or less. For Thursday, winds out of the south, temp to 10 knots, waves about a foot. For Friday, winds out of the southwest, 10 knots, waves up to 2 feet, with precipitation possible. And remember, winds and waves higher, visibilities lower in and near thunderstorms. This is Alvin in Washington with your exclusive WeatherBug 1430 WNAV forecast.
The next high tide at Thomas Point Light at 7:19, 7:45 at Manapeake, and here in Annapolis at 7:45, where it's 82 degrees.
WNAV is looking for organizations that regularly distribute information about employment opportunities to job applicants or have job applicants to refer. If your organization would like to receive notification of job vacancies at our station, please notify WNAV at 236 Admiral Drive, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. Or visit our website at www.1430wnav.com. WNAV is an equal opportunity employer.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. Call the Federal Tax Management Helpline that has been set up for you, 800-254-6903. Stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe more than $10,000 in taxes, call for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Federal Tax Management Hotline, 800-254-6903. That's 800-254-6903. 800-254-6903.
Tune in for local stories that affect you and your quality of life here in Anne Arundel County, in Queen Anne's County, and around our home state of Maryland. We've got the information you need and the music you know. For the 1430 WNAV News Team,
this is Donna Cole.
I'm Greg Davis.
Emil Delina, WNAV News.
For WNAV News, I'm Julie Ryder.
Brandon Simpson, WNAV News.
From the 1430 WNAV Newsroom, I'm Jane Schlegel, 1430 WNAV.
Welcome back to Talk With. I'm Donna Cole. I'm filling in for News Director Jane Schlegel today. I'm in the studio with State Senator Ed Reilly, who represents Maryland Legislative District 33. and Mackenzie Boughey of March for Our Lives Annapolis. She's a 16-year-old junior at the Severn School, resident of Arnold. Senator Reilly, I know you want me to call you Ed. Sometimes I have to just call you Senator Reilly. It's my thing. Mackenzie here, Mac. You go by Mac, right?
Yeah.
We can call you Mac now.
Sure.
We're friends now. She has only known a country at war. She has only known a country of mass shootings. She has only known going to the airport and having to take off her shoes. She was born, what month were you born?
December.
2 months after, 2.5 months after 9/11?
Shortly after.
After 9/11. Can you imagine growing up today?
I have children and grandchildren who are facing these issues, so yes, we talk about it and pray about it a lot.
It's, did you know that this is not normal? This is not how we grew up, Mac? Did you know that your mom, me, your grandfather, Senator Reilly did not grow up like this?
I'm going to be totally honest. Growing up with this, it actually became normal for me. Like, I just grew up with it, like, pre-9/11. I had no idea that security at airports was so laissez-faire. And then when looking at past gun statistics, I find out, why is this on the rise now? Why is it my generation? So that was really weird looking back.
So here's something we had, all of the three of us. We had a lot of churches and synagogues, and we went to services, and that still exists, but it's not as, we don't do it as often.
Mm-hmm.
Not as many people are as religious as they were. You have small class sizes. I know that you have small class sizes at Severn, but by and large, there's much larger class sizes, and there's much less familiarity between teacher and students and between high school administrators and students. And police violence, this didn't all exist, and policing was different. We've changed as a society, yes, Ed?
Absolutely.
So is some of the onus, when we all need someone to blame when something goes wrong. I need somebody to blame when something goes wrong. We all do. But should there be some onus put on the schools for some of the stuff that kids now are not necessarily getting in churches or not necessarily getting at home because there's more, whatever there is today? Should there be more onus put on schools?
Excellent question, and not one we can handle in the next 5 or 10 minutes. That's an ongoing discussion. Whether or not we should expect our schools to be the babysitter, the psychologist, the social worker, the family counselor, and things of that nature. Schools have limited resources and unlimited problems and needs. I think they're doing okay with the tools they have, but Mackenzie started off a little bit earlier with this mental health issue. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a church, a school, or a family, we have to be aware and raise our understanding of what is mental health problems, where can we get help, and are we devoting enough of our public treasury to assist those organizations that are enmeshed in the public health service?
Mackenzie, what say you?
I agree with you a lot on that one. Our schools and our teachers don't have too much to work with. My dad is a teacher for Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and he doesn't even have access to Wi-Fi in his school. School security is okay, but not the greatest if something were to happen, but he's doing his best. And on mental health terms, I totally agree there needs to be more therapists, and mental health needs to be more taken seriously, because it's one of the underlying causes, I believe. Everything's just a mixture, and if you have no one to talk to or no one to put up any red flags, there's going to be a problem.
Kindness, consideration, and empathy for both of you, should that be taught in school all the way up through?
Oh,
yes.
Sure.
Okay, we're running out of time. One more thing.
Last comment.
Yeah.
I don't think teachers should be armed.
Okay, Mackenzie?
I agree.
I think we do need an extra level of security and awareness, but arming teachers is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Facebook Live for the roundtable, people can tune into where?
March for Our Lives, Annapolis, MD.
On Facebook?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
This is Donna Cole on Talk With. Jane will talk with you next week.
You've been listening to Talk With on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM in the city. A weekly program focusing on various government, political, and community leaders, speaking about the issues that affect you. Join us again next Monday afternoon at 2 for Talk With on your hometown station, 99.9 FM and 1430 WNAV.